Jake leaned over the edge of the small shuttle, staring down at the alien world below. The planet glowed with soft green and blue light, and massive structures rose from the forests like natural towers. He had been sent on a simple survey mission: explore, gather data, and leave. But from the moment his shuttle entered orbit, Jake felt something unusual about this place. The landing was rough. The shuttle's hull rattled as it touched down among enormous trees with luminous leaves. Jake grabbed his pack, checked his gear, and stepped out. The air smelled sweet like flowers mixed with ozone. He took a deep breath, then paused. Something was watching him. Before he could react, a group of beings appeared. They were tall, slim, and elegant. Their skin shimmered faintly, like sunlight on water. They moved with precise grace, and each carried a staff tipped with a glowing crystal. "Halt," one of them commanded in a soft, musical voice. Jake raised his hand slowly. I'm just an explorer," he said. "I mean no harm." The beings whispered among themselves. One stepped forward. She was taller than the others, with silver blue skin and long hair that floated slightly, as if alive. She wore a robe that glimmered in the sunlight. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent. She radiated authority. "I am Princess Lysera," she said, her voice calm but firm. "You are not allowed here." Jake's heart skipped. "Princess, I didn't mean to intrude. I was just exploring." Lysera tilted her head slightly, studying him. "Exploring?" she repeated. "Or trespassing?" Jake swallowed. "Exploring," he said quickly. "I promise. I have no weapons. I only have equipment to scan and record." Her eyes narrowed. "Very well. You may come, but only under my supervision. One wrong move and you will regret it." Jake nodded eagerly. "Thank you. I won't cause trouble. I promise." The guards lowered their staves slightly, and Lysera motioned for Jake to follow her. As they walked, she spoke again. "Humans are rare in these regions. Why are you here?" Jake tried to explain. "I'm part of a survey team. We map planets, check resources. Nothing dangerous. I didn't expect anyone to live here." Lysera's lips curved into a small, amused smile. "You did not expect anyone. And yet, you are here. Interesting." The palace was built into a giant crystal cliff. Light passed through the walls, creating patterns on the floors and ceilings. Jake's jaw dropped. This is incredible," he whispered. Lysera noticed and raised an eyebrow. "Do humans often speak without thinking?" Jake shrugged. "Sometimes." He laughed nervously. "I don't mean disrespect. It's just, your world is amazing." She studied him silently, then turned and walked ahead. "You will stay in the guest wing. Do not wander. Guards will accompany you." As they entered a large hall, Jake felt a strange mix of awe and anxiety. The walls seemed alive, glowing with soft light, and strange plants leaned toward him as if curious. Lysera gestured to a doorway. "This will be your room. You may rest for now. Tomorrow we discuss your presence here." Jake nodded and stepped inside. The room was spacious and elegant, with a large window overlooking the forest. He sat on the edge of the bed, trying to calm his racing thoughts. He had never imagined meeting a real alien princess, and she seemed friendly in her own way. The next morning, he was summoned to the throne room. Lysera sat on a raised platform, her eyes sharp and calculating. Around her were advisors and guards, all watching him closely. "You claim to be harmless," she said, "yet you enter our land without permission. Why should I trust you?" Jake swallowed hard. "I have no reason to harm you or your people. I only want to learn and leave peacefully." Lysera studied him for a long moment. "Very well. You will prove yourself. You will join our scholars for the day and assist in observing the flora and fauna. If you fail to follow instructions, the consequences will be severe." Jake nodded eagerly. "I understand." The day began with Lizera personally guiding him through the crystal forests. The plants and animals were unlike anything Jake had seen. Some plants moved when he approached, and small creatures with luminous wings flitted around. As Jake took notes and scans, he accidentally touched a plant that reacted violently. Vines shot out and wrapped around his arm. He yelped, pulling free. Lizera's eyes widened, and then she laughed, a sound like wind chimes. "You are clumsy," she said. "Humans truly are fragile." Jake blushed. I didn't mean to. It's just different from anything I've seen before." Lizera smiled. "Perhaps, but you are lucky I am not angry." As the day went on, Jake and Lizera talked more. He shared stories about Earth, about humans and their technology. Lizera shared tales of her people, their history and their customs. Despite the language differences, they began to understand each other. Later, near a glowing lake, a small accident happened. Jake slipped on a moss-covered rock and fell into the shallow water. Lizera rushed to help him, and in a rush of movement their hands touched. Jake froze, but Lizera only smiled. "You are clumsy, human. Yet, there is something different about you. Something curious." Jake stammered. I didn't mean," Lizera waved a hand, brushing it off. "Do not worry. Humans often act without thinking. You are entertaining." As the sun set, Lizera invited Jake to stay near the lake and watch the glowing fish swim. They sat quietly, sharing a strange, peaceful moment. "Do humans always come into danger so easily?" she asked quietly. Jake laughed nervously. "I guess we're not always careful, but sometimes accidents lead to interesting things." Lizera tilted her head. Perhaps your kind is unpredictable." "I like that." Jake smiled, feeling a warmth he had not expected. He had come to this planet for research, but he had not expected this connection. By the time they returned to the palace, Jake was exhausted but happy. He did not realize it yet, but his presence on this planet had already started to change things. For Lizera, his arrival was no accident. For Jake, the adventure had only begun. That night, as he lay in his guest room, Jake thought about the princess. She was unlike anyone he had ever met, strong, intelligent, and joyful in a way that made him feel alive. He had no idea what the future would hold. The next morning, Jake awoke to a soft knock at the door. "Enter," he called, sitting up. The door slid open and Princess Lizera stepped in. Her robes shimmered in the morning light, and her expression was calm, almost unreadable. "Today," she said, "you will join me in the palace gardens. You will learn more about our plants, and I will test your understanding of our customs." Jake groaned inwardly. Learning alien customs was difficult, especially when one misstep could be considered an insult, or worse. Still, he smiled. "I'll try my best, Princess." Lizera raised an eyebrow. "Try, that is all I ask." The gardens were enormous, stretching far beyond what Jake could see. Strange flowers glowed in the daylight, and floating plants hovered gently above the ground. Birds with crystal wings flitted between the trees, singing in harmonious tones. As they walked, Lizera explained the uses of the plants, some for medicine, some for food, and some that had ceremonial importance. Jake took notes and scanned everything, careful not to touch anything he wasn't told to. "You must understand," Lizera said, "our plants are not merely for show. They are part of our history, our life, and our people. Treat them with respect, human." Jake nodded seriously. "I understand. I'll be careful." Despite his caution, an accident was bound to happen. As Jake bent down to scan a glowing plant, his sleeve brushed a delicate flower. It shivered, then released a cloud of sparkling pollen. Jake coughed and waved his hands frantically, accidentally bumping into Lizera. She gasped as the pollen landed on her robes. Jake's face turned bright red. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to." Lizera stared at him for a long moment. Then, to Jake's surprise, she laughed, a clear melodic sound. "Human," she said. "You are truly clumsy." Jake laughed nervously. "I guess that's one way to put it." The moment passed, but something subtle had shifted. Lysira's eyes softened as she studied him, and Jake felt a warmth he hadn't noticed before. For the rest of the morning, they worked together, gathering samples and observing the plants. Jake's respect for Lysira grew. She was not only beautiful, but intelligent, patient, and unafraid to correct him when he made mistakes. During lunch, they sat beside a small fountain in the garden. Lysira had prepared a meal of strange fruits and proteins that glowed faintly. Jake hesitated at first, but he found the food surprisingly delicious. "You humans have strange food," Lysira said. "Yet I sense you appreciate flavor." Jake smiled. "We do, sometimes too much." He paused, glancing at her. "You seem happy here. Is that common for your people?" Lysira's expression softened. "We are not unhappy, human. But joy, real joy, is rare. It comes in moments, not every day." Jake felt a pang in his chest. I hope I can be part of a moment like that." She raised an eyebrow, and he realized he might have spoken too freely. Before he could explain, she laughed lightly. "Perhaps you already are in your own clumsy way." As the day went on, Jake became more comfortable around her. He learned to anticipate her instructions, and even managed to make her laugh a few times. Lysira began to show a lighter side, a playful curiosity that contrasted with her usual composed demeanor. Late in the afternoon, they reached a secluded grove filled with luminescent flowers. Lysira knelt beside a small pond, examining the water. Jake knelt nearby, watching. Suddenly, a misstep caused him to slip on a wet stone. In a rush to prevent him from falling fully into the pond, Lysira reached out. Their hands touched again, this time longer, almost lingering. Jake's heart raced. I'm sorry," he stammered. Lysira shook her head. "Do not apologize. It was natural. Natural." The word lingered in his mind. There was something about her tone. Soft, accepting, and almost warm. They spent the evening in quiet conversation. Jake shared stories of Earth, of cities, oceans, and simple human joys like walking in the rain or eating ice cream. Lysira listened, fascinated. She spoke of her people's traditions, of rituals, festivals, and the ways they celebrated life. As night fell, Lysira invited Jake to stay near the pond and watch the glowing aquatic creatures. They sat side by side in comfortable silence, the water reflecting the soft light of the floating flowers. "You are different from other humans I have observed," Lysira said quietly. Jake looked at her, surprised. "Different? How?" "Kind, curious, unafraid. You make mistakes, yes, but you learn from them. And you make me laugh. That is rare." Jake felt a warmth spread through him. "Thank you. That means a lot coming from you." A sudden breeze rustled the flowers, and a few petals drifted onto them. Jake reached out instinctively to brush them away, and in the motion, he accidentally touched Lysira more closely than intended. Her eyes widened slightly, then softened. "Human," she whispered, almost to herself. Jake's face turned crimson. Lysira held up a hand, stopping him. "Do not speak, it is fine." Later that night, as Jake lay in his guest room, he couldn't stop thinking about her. She was unlike anyone he had ever met. Strong, intelligent, playful, and unexpectedly kind. He felt drawn to her in a way he didn't understand. Meanwhile, Lysira lay in her chambers thinking of him. She was not supposed to allow herself such feelings, not for a human. Yet something about him was comforting, joyful. Her heart, which often felt weighed down by duty and tradition, felt light for the first time in a long while. A few days passed, and Jake continued his studies under Lysira's guidance. Their interactions became more natural, filled with shared laughter, gentle teasing, and small acts of trust. Then one evening, another accident occurred. While examining a glowing plant near the pond, Jake tripped on a root and fell onto Lysera. They tumbled together, and in the confusion, Jake's actions, innocent, unthinking, but intimate, led to something neither had expected. The next morning, Lysera was glowing with joy. She smiled at Jake in a way that made his heart pound. "You," she began, then stopped as if considering her words carefully. "You have changed my life, human, truly." Jake frowned. I think I may have caused trouble." "I didn't mean—" Lysera laughed, cutting him off. "No, human. This is not trouble. It is a gift." Jake stared at her, confused and alarmed. "A gift? What do you mean?" Lysera's eyes sparkled. "You have given me hope, happiness, and soon life grows because of you. A new life." Jake's face turned pale. "Wait. What?" Lysera reached out and touched his hand gently. "Do not fear. This is not a mistake. It is joy." Jake sank to a nearby bench, trying to process what she said. He had never expected this, never imagined that a simple survey mission would lead to this. But as he looked into her eyes, filled with radiant happiness, he realized something important. She was truly joyful, truly alive, and he had a part in it. And for the first time, Jake understood that sometimes accidents were not mistakes. They were beginnings. That night, as he lay in his guest room, Jake thought about the future. The challenges, the misunderstandings, the dangers, they all seemed distant for a moment. For now, there was Lysera, her laughter, her joy, and the unexpected bond they had formed. And somewhere deep in the palace, Lysera whispered to herself, smiling softly, "I did not expect this human, but I cannot imagine life without him now." The galaxy outside remained vast and unknown, but on this small planet, in the glowing gardens and quiet ponds, something extraordinary had begun. A bond between two beings from different worlds, bound by curiosity, accidents, and unexpected joy. Word of Lysera's joy, and Jake's unintentional role in it, spread through the palace quickly. Jake had thought their private moments in the garden would remain secret, but in a royal court, nothing stayed hidden for long. By the next morning, Jake was summoned to the throne room. He had a sinking feeling in his stomach. The room was filled with advisors, guards, and officials, all staring at him. Lysera sat on her throne, serene and glowing, as if nothing could disturb her. Jake took a deep breath and stepped forward. "You have caused quite a stir, human," Lysera said softly, though her eyes twinkled with amusement. Jake swallowed. I didn't mean to. It was an accident." One of the senior advisors, a tall, stern-looking figure with violet skin, stood up. "Accident or not, human," he said, "you have interfered with royal matters. This union is unprecedented. It may have consequences we cannot predict." Jake's heart sank. "Consequences?" Lysera held up a hand. "Let us not speak of consequences yet. My happiness is not a mistake. I am joyful, and this is what matters." The advisor's eyes narrowed. "Princess, with all respect, joy is not enough. Our people have rules, traditions, and expectations. A human, he is unbound by our customs. He could bring chaos to the palace." Jake shifted nervously. I don't want chaos. I want to help, and I care about Princess Lysera," the court murmured. A few advisors exchanged skeptical glances. Some seemed excited, others fearful. Lysera stood, her voice firm. "You will respect him as I do, and you will remember that life cannot always wait for rules. Sometimes it comes unexpectedly, and it brings hope." The advisor scoffed but did not argue further. Still, Jake felt the tension in the room. He realized that his presence here was more complicated than he had imagined. He was not just a guest. He was now part of the palace, and the royal court would scrutinize every move he made. Over the next few days, Jake's life became a delicate balancing act. He assisted scholars, learned more about alien medicine and rituals, and navigated the complex etiquette of the palace. Every misstep drew curious glances. Every small success earned him cautious respect. Lysera, however, remained a constant source of warmth and joy. She laughed freely around him, shared personal stories, and included him in her daily routines. One afternoon, while they were walking through a corridor lined with glowing crystal panels, Lysera stopped. "Human," she said, "do you understand what you have done?" Jake frowned. I think so. I caused a pregnancy, but it was an accident, and I don't know what to do next." Lysera smiled. "You have given me hope, happiness, and life. That is enough. The future will unfold, and we will face it, together." Jake nodded slowly, trying to absorb her words. He still felt nervous, unsure how the court or her people would react outside the palace. But looking at Lysera, he realized that her joy was genuine, and that gave him courage. Yet not everyone in the palace was pleased. Some advisors began whispering behind closed doors. They feared what a human royal child might mean for political stability. Could other planets exploit this? Could rivals use it to manipulate Lysera or her kingdom? One particularly cunning advisor, Virek, decided to act. He approached an influential noble from a neighboring planet and hinted that Lysera's relationship with Jake could be dangerous. "If you do not intervene," he said, "this human may bring dishonor, or worse, weakness, to the throne." Word spread beyond the palace, reaching other planets in the region. Rumors of the princess's joy and Jake's role began circulating. Some envied the human, some laughed, and some saw a threat. Meanwhile, Lysera remained blissfully unaware of the growing tension outside the palace walls. She focused on Jake, teaching him about her people, sharing meals and exploring secluded gardens. Their bond grew stronger. One evening, as they sat under a sky full of glowing stars, Lysera touched Jake's hand gently. "Do you realize," she said softly, "that in a few months there will be a new life in this world because of you?" Jake swallowed hard. "I do, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." Lysera smiled warmly. "You are ready. Life is never planned perfectly, human. We only adapt, and in this, I am happy." Jake felt a mix of relief and awe. Despite the chaos outside, Lysera's joy made him believe that everything might turn out okay. However, the following morning brought news that shook him. A group of palace guards entered his room with urgency. "Human Jake," one said, "you are requested immediately by Princess Lysera." Jake hurried to the throne room, wondering what had happened. There, he found Lysera standing beside an elder council member, her expression unusually serious. "Human," she said, "there are those who do not understand joy. They see only rules, tradition, and fear. You must be careful. Some may try to manipulate or challenge you." Jake nodded. I'll do my best. I don't want trouble." Lysera placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Do not fear, human. Trouble will always come, but we will face it together." The council member spoke, his voice calm but firm. "Princess, we respect your decisions. But this human must understand our ways fully. He must learn the rituals, the customs, and the expectations of our people. Only then can he remain safely in the palace." Jake felt overwhelmed. Learning alien customs was one thing, but now he had to navigate political intrigue as well. Still, Lysera's confidence in him gave him courage. Over the next days, Jake devoted himself to understanding the palace's traditions. He learned ceremonial greetings, dining etiquette, and even some basic elements of alien ritual magic. Mistakes were common, but Lysera was patient, correcting him with gentle guidance rather than scolding. Their time together was filled with quiet moments, laughter, and growing trust. Jake began to feel less like an outsider and more like someone who belonged, but the tension outside the palace grew. Rival factions on nearby planets saw an opportunity to exploit the situation. Spies began arriving, attempting to learn secrets about the princess and the human who had brought joy into her life. Jake remained unaware of these threats at first. He was too focused on Lysera, the gardens, and the simple happiness of being near her. Yet one evening, as they walked through the palace balcony overlooking the forests, Lysera's expression darkened. "Human," she said quietly. "Our joy has attracted attention. Not all of it good. You must be careful." Jake frowned. "Careful? From what?" Lysera sighed. "From those who do not understand joy. From those who see life as rules, power, and control. They will try to use you or harm you to influence me." Jake felt a chill. "So, what do we do?" Lysera smiled faintly, her eyes glowing with determination. "We live as we must. We protect what we cherish. And we will face challenges together." In that moment, Jake realized the full weight of the situation. This was no longer a simple mission. He was part of the palace, part of Lysera's life, and soon, part of a family that would face dangers from within and beyond. But he also realized something else, something that gave him courage. Lysera's joy, her unwavering happiness and strength, made everything else feel possible. Even the court, even rival factions, even the unknown dangers beyond the planet. For the first time, Jake understood that his role here was not just an accident. It was a chance to bring hope, joy, and unity between worlds. And as he looked at Lysera standing tall and radiant before him, he felt ready. Ready to face the court, the intrigue, and the challenges ahead. Ready to be part of something greater than himself. Even as the galaxy watched, uncertain and curious, a new chapter had begun. For Jake, for Lysera, and for the life they had unknowingly set in motion together. The palace was quiet in the early hours of the morning, but Jake sensed tension in the air. Lysera had warned him that not everyone in the galaxy would be happy about their bond. Yet he had not expected threats to arrive so quickly. It began with the messengers. Scouts from neighboring planets appeared at the palace gates, demanding an audience with Princess Lysera. Their tone was polite, but their eyes were cold and calculating. They had heard the rumors, and they wanted answers. Lysera met them in the grand hall, serene and composed as ever. Jake followed, trying to stay calm. He knew little about diplomacy, but he had learned to observe, to listen, and to adapt. The leader of the group, a tall alien with green-scaled skin and a voice like gravel, spoke first. "Princess Lysera, we have heard that a human is with you. That he has caused changes to your lineage. We demand clarification." Lysera's eyes flashed. "Clarification? Human or not, he brings joy and hope. That is my answer." The alien's frown deepened. "Hope does not rule kingdoms. Strength does. You risk dishonor and instability by allowing him to remain here." Jake stepped forward. I don't want dishonor. I only want to help. I can learn, follow customs, and do whatever is needed." The alien sneered. "You, a human? You barely understand our ways. How can you protect a princess or a kingdom or a child?" Jake felt fear prick at his chest, but he also felt determination. He thought of Lysera's smile, her joy, and the life growing because of him. He would not let anyone threaten that. Lysera placed a hand on his shoulder. "Human is correct. You will see soon that he is capable, and not just by accident. We face challenges together." The scouts left with thinly veiled threats promising that other factions would watch closely. The palace was safe for now, but Jake knew danger was coming. That evening, Jake and Lysera stood on the balcony gazing at the glowing forests. "Do you think we can face this?" Jake asked quietly. Lysera smiled, though there was seriousness in her eyes. "We must, and we will. Together." The next day, the threats became more direct. Saboteurs attempted to infiltrate the palace, tampering with security systems and trying to steal important information. Jake noticed small signs, strange footprints, subtle disturbances in the gardens and minor alarms triggered in unusual ways. He reported everything to Lysera, who immediately convened the palace guards. "We cannot ignore these actions," she said, "but we will handle them without panic. We are stronger together." Jake offered a suggestion. "If I may, I can help set traps and countermeasures. I know ways humans secure places against intruders. It might help." Lysera considered him, then nodded. "Very well. Human ingenuity may be useful." For the next few days, Jake worked tirelessly with the palace engineers. Using his knowledge of human technology and some alien tools, he devised clever traps and early warning systems. He created false paths for intruders, alarm triggers that looked like natural events, and secure hiding spots for sensitive information. When the saboteurs returned, they were confused and disoriented. Jake's trap slowed them down, giving the palace guards time to apprehend them. Lysera's people watched in awe as the humans solved problems with cleverness, rather than brute force. "You are impressive," Lysera said later, smiling at him. "You adapt quickly and your mind is sharp." Jake felt a surge of pride. I just want to protect you. Protect this place." Lysera's eyes softened. "And you have. That is all that matters." But the challenges were far from over. Word of Jake's cleverness spread, drawing the attention of even more dangerous factions. One group, the Crimson Marauders, were notorious across the galaxy for attacking planets that showed weakness. They saw Lysera's kingdom as an easy target, a planet distracted by a human princess's joy. One evening, alarms blared throughout the palace. Jake and Lysera ran to the balcony, where the sky was filled with strange, dark ships. Crimson red lights glowed as the vessels approached, cutting through the night like fire. "They are here," Lysera said calmly, though Jake saw tension in her jaw. "And we cannot let them harm our people, or our future." Jake's mind raced. He had no experience fighting fleets, but he had learned to think strategically. "We can use the terrain," he said, "the forests, the cliffs, the rivers. We can make traps, obstacles, slow them down." Lysera nodded. "Do it. I trust your judgment." Working quickly, Jake guided the palace engineers and guards to use the natural environment to their advantage. Trees were reinforced, bridges strengthened, and narrow passages rigged with energy nets. Flying creatures of the planet were guided to act as scouts and distractions. When the Crimson Marauders arrived, they were met with unexpected resistance. Their ships struggled in the dense forests, caught in energy nets, and slowed by ingenious traps. Jake coordinated with Lysera's guards, using both human tactics and alien technology to outmaneuver the invaders. During the chaos, Jake spotted a marauder ship heading directly for Lysera's private garden. Without thinking, he leapt into a small hovercraft, dodging laser fire, and intercepted the vessel. Using a combination of alien control panels and human intuition, he redirected the ship away from the palace. Lysera watched from the balcony, her eyes wide with admiration. "Human, you are fearless." Jake barely had time to respond. I'm just doing what I can." The battle continued late into the night. The Marauders were strong, but they had underestimated the palace and its defenders. Jake's clever strategies and Lysera's calm leadership turned the tide. By dawn, the Crimson Marauders were retreating, defeated and confused. Exhausted but victorious, Jake returned to the palace. Lysera was waiting, smiling warmly despite the events of the night. "You were incredible," she said, taking his hand. "You protected our people, our home, and me." Jake shook his head, still breathing hard. "I couldn't have done it without you. You led everyone so well. I just followed your example." Lysera laughed softly. "Human, sometimes following is enough. Sometimes it is bravery that counts more than experience." Jake smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment he had never known before. For the first time, he felt that he truly belonged, not just as a guest, but as a partner, as someone who could face the galaxy alongside Lysera. That evening, they walked together through the quiet gardens. The stars shone above, and the planet seemed peaceful once more. Jake realized that the threats outside were serious, but they had proven something important. Together, they could face anything. "You know," Jake said quietly, "I never expected my survey mission to turn into this." Lysra tilted her head, her eyes sparkling. "Neither did I, human. Yet perhaps this is how life should be. Unexpected, challenging, and full of joy." Jake nodded, feeling a strange warmth. "Even with danger?" "Even with danger," Lysra said firmly. "Because life without joy and love is not worth living." As they stood together watching the glow of the palace lights reflect in the garden ponds, Jake realized something he had never thought before. He was ready for whatever the galaxy might throw at him. For Lysra, for her people, and for the life growing because of them, he would face anything. And somewhere deep in the palace, Lysra whispered to herself, smiling softly, "This human, he brings more than joy. He brings strength, hope, and courage. The galaxy has not seen the best of us yet." For the first time, Jake and Lysra felt truly united, not just by accident or circumstance, but by choice, by trust, and by the life they were creating together. The palace had never been so full of anticipation. Lysra's joy had spread throughout her people like sunlight after a long winter. Even the court advisors who had doubted Jake now watched him closely. Their skepticism mingled with awe. Jake stood in the palace gardens, looking out at the glowing plants and calm ponds. His hands were tense and his heart raced, not from fear, but from excitement and anticipation. The day had finally come. Lysra appeared, radiant as ever, her glowing eyes reflecting hope and happiness. She moved with elegance and purpose, carrying herself as the proud princess and soon-to-be mother she was. "You are ready," she said softly, placing a hand on his arm. Jake nodded. "I think I am as ready as I can be. I just want to be here with you." Lysra smiled, her warmth easing the tension in his chest. "You have been here every step of the way, human. That is all that matters." The palace had been prepared for this moment. Skilled healers, both human-trained and native to the planet, were on standby. The royal courtiers had cleared the halls, giving space for the intimate event. Yet, despite the calm preparations, Jake felt nervous. This was not just a birth. It was the symbol of a bond between worlds. The first signs came gently. Lysra's expression shifted from calm to intense focus. She gripped Jake's hand, her other hand resting on her growing belly. "It begins," she whispered. Jake stayed by her side, offering support, words of encouragement, and a steady presence. He remembered the first days they had spent together, in the gardens, the laughter, the accidents, and the quiet moments. He realized then that all of it had led to this. Hours passed. The palace was quiet except for the soft murmurs of the healers and the gentle hum of the crystal walls. Lysra's focus never wavered, her strength and determination evident in every breath. Jake marveled at her courage. She had always been strong, but now, facing the challenge of bringing new life into the world, she seemed unstoppable. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, a soft cry echoed through the room. The healers quickly moved to attend, and Jake watched in awe as Lysra held the tiny, glowing child in her arms. The baby's skin shimmered faintly, reflecting both human and alien heritage. "It's perfect," Lysra whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. She looked at Jake, her joy overwhelming. "It is our child, our life, our hope." Jake felt tears sting his own eyes. "It's incredible. They're amazing." The healers nodded. "Healthy, strong, and full of life," one said. "A remarkable child indeed." Lysra held the baby close, rocking gently. "We have done something extraordinary, human. We have brought life, joy, and hope to the galaxy in a way no one could have imagined." Jake reached out, touching the child's tiny hand. It wrapped around his finger, small but firm. He felt an overwhelming sense of connection, not just to the baby, but to Lysra, to this world. and to the future they would face together. The palace erupted in celebration. Courtiers, advisors, and guards gathered, offering congratulations and gifts. Even those who had doubted Jake now treated him with respect, acknowledging his courage, intelligence, and dedication. "You have changed us," Lysera said quietly, standing beside him. "Not just by bringing life, but by showing what humans are capable of." Jake smiled, humbled. I just wanted to help, and to be here with you." Lysera's eyes sparkled. "And that is enough. More than enough." In the following days, life in the palace settled into a peaceful rhythm. Jake learned to care for the child alongside Lysera, discovering the joys and challenges of parenthood in a completely alien context. He was amazed at the baby's intelligence and curiosity even in those first days. The child's laughter filled the palace halls, echoing among the glowing plants and crystal walls. For the first time in generations, there was a feeling of pure, unshakable joy. It spread to everyone, humans and aliens alike, uniting them in a moment of shared wonder. Jake watched Lysera with admiration. She was a mother, a leader, and the most joyful being he had ever known. Her happiness radiated, and even in moments of exhaustion she smiled, always returning to him and the child with warmth and love. One evening, as they sat together watching the glowing forest from the palace balcony, Lysera leaned her head on Jake's shoulder. "This is more than I could have hoped for," she said softly. "More than any tradition, more than any plan. This is life at its best." Jake wrapped his arm around her. "And we did it together. Against odds, against doubts, against danger. Together." Lysera smiled, closing her eyes. Together. The galaxy outside the palace remained vast and unknown. Threats, rival factions, and uncertainties still existed. But for now, in this small palace on a distant planet, life was perfect. They had each other, they had their child, and they had the joy that came from love, trust, and unity. Jake realized that this was what humanity had always strived for: courage, compassion, and the ability to create hope even in the darkest of circumstances. And now, in this alien world, he could see it reflected back, not just in Lysera, but in their child, and in the people who had come to accept and celebrate them. The first sunrise after the birth was breathtaking. The sky glowed, with shades of pink, blue, and green. Birds sang, and the forests shimmered with life. Jake, Lysera, and the baby stood together looking out at the horizon. "This is just the beginning," Jake said, holding Lysera's hand and feeling the child between them. Lysera nodded. "Yes, the beginning of a new life, a new era, and a bond between our worlds. We will face the galaxy together, and we will bring joy wherever we go." Jake smiled, feeling a sense of purpose and belonging he had never known. "Together," he repeated. As the first rays of the sun touched the palace, their child stirred, letting out a small, joyful cry. It was a sound of hope, of life, and of the extraordinary possibilities that lay ahead. In that moment, Jake understood that accidents, mistakes, and unexpected events could lead to something far greater than anyone could plan. They could lead to joy, unity, and a future worth fighting for. And so, the palace on the glowing alien world became a place of laughter, love, and hope. A human had arrived by accident, but in his presence an entire kingdom had discovered happiness, and a new life promised a future that was bright, bold, and extraordinary. Lysera held their child close, Jake by her side, and together they looked out at the galaxy, ready to face whatever came next. For in that moment they knew that love, courage, and joy were stronger than fear, tradition, or doubt.